Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Living Inspired with Autism. I'm Antoinette, and I just want to wish you a happy and very powerful new year. Okay, so today's episode came to me in a very ordinary way, not in the shower, not during a meditation, not while I was journaling with a beautiful cup of coffee. It came to me while I was lying in bed. Not quite awake, not quite asleep, with my mind doing what it so often does in the morning, and that is spinning. So today, I want to talk to you about morning thoughts. Not morning routines, not productivity hacks, not how you wake up at 5 a.m. and conquer the world. Just what actually happens in your mind when you wake up in the morning. Because I've been having this conversation a lot lately with clients and friends and the women that I coach. And what I'm noticing is that for many of us, the moment we wake up, our brain is already busy. It's not calm, it's not neutral, it is busy. And often not very kind either. Now for me, waking up is a very slow process. I don't pop out of bed full of joy and motivation. There's a foggy, heavy moment where my brain is still warming up. And in that space, my thoughts are not positive at all. They're anxious, they're critical, they're searching. But what I've noticed is that as I wake up more fully, things start to settle and my thinking softens, I can breathe and I can orientate myself. And that gap, that transition between sleep and wakefulness is where I think something really important is happening, because that's where our default brain programming shows up. One of the reasons morning thoughts feel so intense is because we wake up before our logical brain is fully online. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that reasons, that evaluates and says, hang on, is this actually true? That part is still warming up. What is awake is your emotional brain. So the first thoughts that you do have in the morning are often unfiltered, emotional, protective, and fear-based. Not because anything is necessarily wrong, but because your brain's first job is safety. It scans what happened, what could go wrong, what do I need to worry about? And that's personal, that's just normal biology. So if you wake up and your first thought is, oh no, today is going to be too much, or how am I going to cope, or I can't believe I said that, nothing has gone wrong. Your nervous system is simply doing a morning roll call. And understanding that alone can remove so much shame. Now, many people wake up in the middle of the night with racing thoughts, and that's a whole topic on its own, and we'll talk about those another time. But morning thoughts are similar. They just arrive, uninvited, fully formed. And lately, I've also been reflecting on anxiety in my own life. It feels like I have more anxiety than I ever had before. But when I really looked at it, I realized something important. It's not that there's more anxiety. It's that I'm no longer numbing or avoiding it. I'm actually sitting with it. Because for the longest time, I would distract myself. I would think of something else. I would use food. I would use with busyness, I would use, the people around me, relationships. I would use being on, which is a lot of what parents of autism do. And now I don't do that nearly as much. I'm less impulsive. I don't distract myself from myself in the same way, which means I'm left with me, with my emotions, with my nervous system, with my thoughts. And I see this most clearly in my morning thinking. I remembered something recently. When I was younger, I used to wake up and immediately think about the relationship I was in at the moment. And that would determine the entire tone of my day. And later, when I wasn't in a relationship, the first thing I would think about was, my son, or perhaps what I was going to eat, or my weight. How much did I weigh? What was going to happen with Max? What did I eat yesterday? What am I going to eat today? And that obsessive thinking took up so much mental energy. And here's what I realized. Those thoughts weren't random. They were distractions. They were drama that my brain created to avoid feeling what was going on underneath. So distractions are things like obsessing about your weight or obsessing about the future of your children and money and relationships and the past and your own future. And all of that can be a way to avoid being present with ourselves. Now, I used my relationship as drama for years. It kept my brain busy, it gave my anxiety somewhere to go, and it distracted me from a deeper emotional processing. And now that I don't use those distractions as much, my brain still wants to, or feels like it wants to, latch onto something. So it goes hunting. So let me ask you this. When you wake up, what is the first thought you have? Not the one that you choose later, the automatic first one that comes up. Is it about the past? Is it something you said? Is it something that you did? Is it something you regret? Or is it about the future, the day ahead, money or time or responsibility? Just noticing this is so powerful, because the moment you notice what your brain is doing, you are no longer inside of your brain. You are observing it. You're observing your thoughts. And that alone brings you into the present. Honestly, you get meditation points for that. I also want to say this. If you are a parent, especially a parent carrying a lot of responsibility, which is all of us on this podcast, your brain is extra alert in the mornings. You're not just waking up as you are waking up as a caregiver, as a planner, as a protector, as a problem solver, and your brain knows that once your feet hit the floor, people need you. So of course it checks in early. Of course it runs through different scenarios. Of course it wants to prepare. Now that doesn't mean you need to listen to everything it says, but it does mean that you can meet it with understanding instead of resistance. Now for a while, I noticed that I woke up every morning thinking about something that I supposedly said wrong the night before. At first I thought, wow, I must really be messing up or not thinking what I'm saying. But then I realized it was happening every single morning, which made it impossible because it wasn't truth, it was a pattern. My brain was scanning the recent past, looking for something to attack me with. And once I saw that, I stopped taking it personally. Now, when it happens, I say, aha, okay, I see you. And for some of you, your brain doesn't go to the past. It goes straight to the future. What do I need to do today? How will I get it all done? What about money? What do I need to do about my child? Here is a powerful question. Does your anxiety change based on how much you actually have to do? And if it's the same on busy days and quiet days, then it's not about your schedule. It's just your brain's default morning routine. There's an important distinction between awareness versus indulgence. Noticing your thoughts does not mean that you're indulging them. Awareness sounds like, this is interesting. My brain is doing that thing again. Indulgence sounds like, oh no, this means something is wrong. You can observe without spiraling, and you can notice without analyzing. You can say, I see you, without you're in charge. That skill alone changes everything. And I want you to think of your brain as like a computer. When you open it in the morning, certain windows are automatically going to open. Now, that doesn't mean they're wrong. It just means that was open last time or overnight. And you can close them, and you can open new ones. Your brain has the most energy in the morning, which means two things. If you let it run wild, it will use that energy to generate anxiety. But it's also the best time to reprogram it. And this is an opportunity. A lot of people talk about morning affirmations. And I do love this idea, but they also have to meet two criteria. You must believe them, and they must create the feeling that you want. If you say something that you don't believe, it's going to backfire on you because your nervous system knows. So instead of jumping from, for example, I hate my body to I love my body, you use the ladder. Now, I teach this to my clients. So you would, for example, say, I have a body, or my body supports me. My body is strong in some ways. So you don't have to go from I hate my body to I love my body. You can start these little steps. I have a body. My body supports me. My body is strong in some ways. Believability matters. One of my favorite practices came from watching a little girl do daily affirmations. And she doesn't say things like she loves everything. She says she likes things. So sometimes I wake up and think, I like hot coffee. I like clean sheets. I like my kiddo. I like walking. I like silence because it's gentle, it's believable, and it shifts my state. There's research showing that gratitude and anxiety don't coexist easily. If gratitude feels accessible to you, use it. If it doesn't, though, don't force it because there is no right way. And here's a gentle practice that you can try. When you wake up, ask yourself, what is my first thought? What would help me feel even 5% more settled? That's it. Not calm, not fixed, just 5%. So what we're really doing here is reclaiming our energy and our agency. It's not control, it's our energy and agency. Agency says, I notice what my mind is doing and I get to participate. That's stabilizing and that's empowering. If you wake up every day feeling rushed, behind, and braced, your nervous system lives there. But if even a few mornings a week you wake up and say, I'm safe, I don't need to rush this moment, now that compounds. Your brain learns that mornings aren't emergencies, and slowly the volume turns down. So this is exactly the kind of work that I do with my one-on-one clients. Not forcing positivity, not bypassing reality, but learning how to work with your mind and your nervous system so that your life feels calmer and more spacious and more intentional. Now, if this resonates and you'd like the support, you can always reach out and book a conversation with me. The link will be in the show notes. So, tomorrow morning, just notice. No judgment, no fixing. Your morning thoughts are not the problem. They're just an invitation, and you get to decide how you respond. All right, my friends, I will see you next week. Bye for now.